All right. Welcome, everybody. I am Zahid from Talks at Innovation Valley. And you know that we present you amazing podcast almost every week. So today we have a very special guest, Alexandra. She was working with Cisco um, until the last month. She was working with Cisco as a CSR program manager for a part of the MENA region and also as a business development manager. So today's topic is really important and interesting. How to be good at business development. Everybody knows that business development is something which is core and central of any company or any business. So being very experienced in this domain, Alexandra is with us. So Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us and really warm welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Zahid, for the lovely introduction. And thank you for inviting me in this podcast. And I would love to share my experience that I have been having in business development and different other fields along the time.
Yeah.
Maybe someone will pick up something that would be useful for them.
Thank you, Alexandra, and also giving opportunity to meet you at Cisco Dubai office, and it was really nice meeting to you there. So before Alexandra, before I jump into the questions list, I would ask you to please tell a little bit about your background, your education, your interests, and your schooling, how you jumped into tech industry.
Yeah, sure. So, university, as my studies, I have been studying foreign languages and then economics.
Mhm.
Then it was like Martin Luther King. I had a dream. So when Dubai put Burj Al Arab on the map, I knew I wanted to be here because I considered back then in the 2000s that it's a country with a vision, it's a country that moves only forward, and I would love to see myself part of that scenery. So that's why after I graduated, I moved here. And fortunately, or unfortunately, I moved in the same time with a crisis in 2009. So I have not seen the country that was before abundant and amazing opportunities. When I came, everyone was struggling. So I started as my first job in hospitality here, working in a hotel. And then I continued working in account management, then business development for a beauty company, then business development for a company that brought baby products to the region. I organized corporate events, and after my corporate events career ended, then I took a year where I freelanced mostly, where I was doing different stuff from business development on specific stuff like fashion, again, some baby products, and organizing events. But I was interviewing on jobs for multinationals. So this is how I ended up having a job in Cisco for the past, I think, almost 6 years now. Yeah.
Right. So diversified experience. I mean, a lot of experiences in project management and many
Yes.
other fields. Right. So that being uh, we are discussing today on the business development. So my first question is that what actually business development is and why this is important for the companies.
So I would consider business development being, I think, one of the most important. I think, of course, every department has its importance in the hierarchy of a company, but I would say business development is one of the main ones because it's a lot of relationship building and growing those relationships that will lead into prospecting sales, lead generation for the future. So I would say it's a long term value for an organization in terms of business development. And every organization should think very thoroughly with the person and the people which they are hiring for business development roles, because it's I would say, from my opinion, now everyone is entitled to have different opinions. Uh, they need to be people which have a high EQ, um, extrovert, being comfortable, being put in different situations, front facing, different nationalities, different types of people. Um, be able to think out of the box. So yeah, I would say from my own opinion that it's not a job for someone which is an introvert.
Right. So, Alexandra, how one can uh, estimate or understand about him or herself that if he or she is fit for the business development job, and what do you think, what are the top qualities that a business development person must have before he or she jumps into this domain?
I think for sure it should have sales skills in means of researching, prospecting, um, working with different tech tools, which I believe after COVID, it just increased the number of tools. I was reading an article and they say now in 2023 onwards, business development manager is expected to work with at least 10 tools, from calls to CRMs, videos. So definitely has to have this knowledge, a good knowledge of their product, good communication, in some cases good at negotiation, also have a project management mentality in order of knowing how to engage with stakeholders, understand risk management, create a, an introductory business management plan, which is like a stepping stone that can be continuously improved through a year. And one of the most ones which I think any person that works in business development should have it, it's an active listening. Because I feel a lot of people are just having knowledge on their product and they enter meetings like led by their ego that they know they are good at what they are doing and maybe they trust the product a lot, but they don't actively listen to the client's needs and engage with the client and ask as many questions as possible, because at the end of the day people buy from people that they trust. So once the client would feel that you created that bond and your interest is not solely in selling that specific product, from my experience, they felt much more comfortable in dealing with me. And even maybe if you don't have you don't need to get in small details because you'd work with different departments that will help you in the process. And I think the relationship building with a client and getting its trust through active listening, empathy, respect, good communication, not just listening to answer some question, try to understand what is behind it, as well a good understanding who is the decision maker, because maybe sometimes the people that you meet, they're not really the decision maker. So try to reach to the bottom of that. Maybe there are some phantom decision makers behind it, and you need to get acquainted to that so you know how to close a deal in the fastest and more productive way possible. And of
Good.
course, presentation skills.
Right, right. So, what do you think that being a business manager, how one could create a perfect business plan, and what are the key steps to, create a really effective business plan? What are the general rules for it?
I think that the general rule would be to just set your vision, know where you would see yourself in the next 1 year. Maybe you are focused in getting, like, I would refer to Cisco. I know that they were giving awards every year for Chairman's Club, money, bonuses. So maybe that's your vision for the next 1 year. Or maybe you want to close a certain number of deals, but set your vision right from the beginning, because that will be the starting point from where you start building. And from there, you can see which is your target audience and do the research on that, and assessing your business, seeing and interacting with different departments, seeing what are the pain points that maybe in the past they had interacting with clients, doing a research on your competitors, and then choose what business strategy you want to go forward. Maybe you want to position yourself as an expert and then you only take referrals, or you go out there and you do the cold calling, send emails, introduce your business. So I believe that is like some of the steps that you can use in building a business plan. First, set your vision, understand your business, uh, research your target audience as well as your competitors, and at the end, set your strategy right and the goals. And thus, of course, this would change because right now the climate, it's all day changing. Something that worked 1 month back definitely maybe will not work in 12 months. So you have to be very adaptable to maybe the country environment, maybe the region environment.
Right. And what are some effective strategies to identify the potential market, potential customers, and how one can approach them to make contact with them, to build rapport with them, to build relationship with them before doing the business?
I would say, from my experience,
Mhm.
so in one of the previous jobs where I had no previous experience in that field, then I had to do cold calling, arranging meetings where I would go and present our product. But for example, in Cisco, we'd work with the marketing department that will provide us with the lead generation.
Mhm.
And I would work with Salesforce, and we'll be able to quantify which leads we are getting, what is the quality of the leads, what are they interested in, and I would be able to update the CRM. So when they would go for the sales manager, they would be able to see like what was their interest and the details of the discussion that we previously had on the topic. So I would say, right now, social media, definitely. And here I think it's very diversified because it depends from one industry to the other. I think you can create as well some buyers persona where you can see what are the age, spending habits, and then you can have a clear view on people which are buying your product. As well, you can use a search engine optimization tools for your website. Understand demographics. I think it's very customizable on how you can find the how you can interact with your clients. Because I
Right.
would say maybe there are strategies that work in Middle East that, for example, in my country would not work.
Right. So how do you differentiate between like business development and marketing? Because sometimes the startup founders or the business people mix up the things. So is it the same thing, business development and marketing, or it depends on the structure of the company and what?
I have not met so far. Maybe they are a company that combines marketing and business development. But for example, in our case, we worked closely with marketing. Marketing would take care of more of creating the social media teaching of the concept of the product, and then we'd work hand in hand. And I would, once I interact with the prospective client, maybe us, the business development and the marketing, could work on maybe targeted campaigns or webinars or seminars or events for specific things. But I would say marketing is extremely important, especially nowadays when people are all over the social media, phones, at least 2 hours per day. Um, I think it's really interconnected with business development. And for example, in I worked with our marketing department in US, and they wanted for me to share my expertise on the field with a customer in order for them to customize the campaigns.
Hmm. Right, right. So although it depends I mean, this is different in every industry, that how you maintain the relationship with your
Yeah.
customers. But what are the general rules and general strategy to maintain the relationship with the customers? I mean, how to nurture that? You know, sometimes what happens is that companies just sell the thing and forget the customer. It's not something that works long term. So how to maintain it in long term, I mean, to win the loyalty of the customer for lifetime?
Yes. I would say because one of my second job here as an account manager, like it was something like this. It would go through the sales, and then once the account was onboarded, then it would reach to me. The salesperson, like you mentioned, would have sold his mother if it was possible.
Right.
So once the account would come to me, it would be full of challenges because, of course, the salesperson will overpromise and underdeliver.
Hmm.
But being myself an extrovert and loving interacting with humans, I love to listen to everyone. So even at the beginning, I would just have 1 hour, 2 hour calls with people that would keep on shouting, telling their concerns and how they were thinking they were onboarding into something else and they would have different capabilities of using. And when I was presenting what they can actually do, of course, it was a bit of resistance at the beginning. But trying to let them vent out and try to understand their challenges and be there for them and not try to avoid it, like, I think that's very common here. Like they just try to avoid or pretend they're busy or try to pass it on to a different department without taking the real responsibility. Because at the end, we are all humans. We are prone to mistakes. These are happening, but the way you deal with the other person, and even if you are not able to maybe solve a challenge for them, but they would see that you are there besides them and you are engaged in the project, they will trust you more. And they will love to work with you in the future. So I believe this trusting and building this long-term relationship, it's the most relevant in business development. Because even if you change industries, like I have now clients from my second job, exactly when I was doing accountant, and they still they're like, oh, come to our office, let's meet up, what you have been up to. And I know maybe if I go into something that I need to sell them something, I will still have their ear, because I have not cheated them. I didn't overpromise. I presented the challenge to them, and I stood by them when they needed. And maybe at that time, 10 years, 13 years back, maybe I didn't solve a challenge for them, but they appreciated that I didn't hid behind the problem or avoided them. So at the end of the day, I think as long as you trust yourself and your values, and again, that depends mostly on your values because people behave differently. I think everyone would be able to build long-term trusting relationships,
True.
and of course knowing your business,
Hmm.
that's one of the most important.
A very quick answer on one little tiny question on the same thing. What things kill the relationship?
Yeah, I think first of all, not knowing your business, going unprepared, trying to pitch more than understanding the client needs, um, lying or over promising. I think this definitely, maybe it's because I feel it's very short term. And I'm a huge believer in karma, and whatever you put out there, you get it. So I would never try to behave with my customers different than I would behave with my parents or with my friends, because I know my values are aligned on that. But some people maybe are just looking for a short-term sales, and they would be like, yeah, yeah, maybe I can overpromise something. Doesn't matter. Maybe in the next year I will not even be here, so it doesn't really matter in building a relationship. So again, that depends on each other motivation and values. But I would say not building the trust and not letting the customer see that you know your product, you trust your product, and you have confidence that your product is good, as well as properly listening to them and trying to understand their pain points. I think that's one of the most amazing things, like that you can do in building a relationship with a prospective client, even colleague or manager. And it should be an open communication at the end, even if sometimes, and not take things personally, because it's sometimes like if a client comes and bursts into a rage with you, it's nothing towards you personally. Maybe he's going through something and you are the first person he's interacting after he had a call or he went through something. So always take things out of perspective and don't react to it.
Right. So, so right. I totally agree. What are while writing the business plans, the solid business plans, what are the common mistakes that business developers make and how they could avoid the mistakes?
Well, I would say some of the mistakes would be maybe, like I said, the lack of consistency, lack of CRM documentation, forgetting the follow ups, over promising and under delivering, avoiding the elephant in the room, like when a challenge is happening, they try to avoid it, not making enough efforts to build the relationship, as well as maybe lacking the organization and the process, Because as a business development, you should think like a chess player, maybe 5 moves ahead. So I think, and as well, not believing in what you are selling. I think this would be some of the biggest mistakes that a business development could do.
Right. And what how do you measure the business development success? What are the KPIs and what metrics should be in the tracking sheets to see if you really are building the business?
So in my previous role, we had some KPIs in terms of the sales pipeline, the conversion rate. Usually it was a conversion rate per quarter that I would be doing. When I would compare the number of leads I had received from the marketing and how many leads I have converted. In my And as well, I would make a plan every beginning of the week on how many calls am I going to make this week, how many meetings I'm going to set up, if how many networking events I can attend, or try to interact with my peers in different other companies, and try to arrange a meeting with them, so maybe we can do a joint event eventually, or like at least getting acquainted to each other and sharing some knowledge. Because at the end of the day, I never saw other companies as competitors, because everyone came with their own. Like Oracle would come with something, Microsoft would come with
Alexandra,
something. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Actually, there was little bit problem in the connection. So can you please repeat your last 15 seconds
Okay, okay, sure.
on the same question? Yeah. How to track the business development success? How to measure the success? Yeah.
Okay, so I was mentioning that in my last role, what we were doing, we were quantifying per quarter. So per
Hmm.
quarter, we would see how many number of leads we had received, how many leads marketing generated, and how many we got converted. And of course, there was an explanation besides it and why and what was the discussion with that specific targeted client. So I would say the KPI was more on the conversion rate between the marketing lead generation and what I have converted. And I would make a plan at the beginning of each week on how many calls am I going to do that week, who I'm going to call, uh, who I'm going to network from my field, from different multinationals, so I can interact with my peers, try to understand what they are doing, as well as share what I'm doing right now, and maybe work on maybe a joint event in the future. Um, See if I get referrals from the account managers in Cisco that they would be interested in joining the program. How many meetings I would have scheduled. So I would try to make this plan at the beginning of each week, so I can see at the end of the week like what was my productivity level. But overall, I told you it was more on the lead generation comparing with a conversion.
Right. And what are some effective strategies to to network with the people?
I think the most common is LinkedIn right now.
LinkedIn.
Really, yeah.
Uh,
I
uh,
would say it's definitely the most common.
I think the
Because
same. LinkedIn is
it's
so powerful. Yeah.
exactly. You meet with people that you have would have never dreamed from your field. You can just send them an email. You can research who are your peers in some other country, for example. So I think the easiest is LinkedIn, definitely.
Just a
And then
quick.
there are some normal events that are organized here and there. Like I saw some invites on my LinkedIn for business development groups in Dubai that they are inviting me for some events. But in my opinion and in my work experience right now, the most powerful has been LinkedIn.
Just a very quick sporting question. When we talk on the LinkedIn,
Yeah.
uh, uh, what? How do you see the newsletter of a business? I mean, let me tell you a story of myself. I mean, few days ago, I wrote my first business letter. I mean, newsletter, and I just published it on the LinkedIn. I can't believe within 3 to 4 days, I had more than 900 subscribers to that letter.
Wow.
It was so powerful. I mean, I was amazed. I was not expecting that people, almost 1,000 people, would be subscribing my newsletter just within 1 week. I mean, so how do you see the newsletter? Is it really fruitful for the business development? If yes, how we could use this, I mean, document for the business development?
So as you said, like for you, you are not even expecting, and it worked out.
Yeah.
Maybe in some fields, let's say, maybe it will not work out. Maybe in a pharmaceutical field, I don't know, or oil and gas, maybe that will not work out. Maybe a different strategy would be working out for them. So I believe the best thing is to research, and the best research is trial and error, like life. That will give you the best lessons ever. So I would say in your field, like in my previous field as well, yeah, newsletter was great, was a great tool. And especially when you interact from people from all over the world, like it's amazing when you see the outreach that you can have.
So am I audible?
Yeah. Now you just disappeared
All
for
right.
1 second.
Yeah. It was just okay. So
Were you able
how,
to hear me?
yeah, yes, you are audible perfectly. So every business has a vision, a mission, and some values and an overall strategy, and rest every department and everything is just part of that thing. So, what do you think? How business development part could sync with the overall strategy and with the overall vision and mission of the company, and how business development thing and the overall vision and mission could go in harmony and in synchronization?
I think from developing a business, it takes a very strategic planning from professionals, from the owner up to the employees. So I think business development is an important part of any person that is trying to launch its business out there and grow it. So I think before you create your business, you need to create a strategy with measurable goals and action steps. So I would say it's like a Bible. It's definitely a department and a process that needs to be put in place from the beginning. So I don't think any business started without a business development plan, even if there were some specific points there, like vision, strategy, next steps. But I think it's definitely mandatory.
Right, all right. Alexandra, the technology is emerging and technology is going ahead day by day. The world is changing every nanosecond. Since AI technologies, AI products are coming into the market, like I would say the example of Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So how do you see? Yeah. Yes.
I
How do
love
you
it.
see? Yes, I me too. And let me crack something. I mentioned in my first newsletter that my first letter I wrote it with Chat GPT. I given a note. So I mean, how do you see the emerging technologies and how business development managers can take the maximum benefit of these technologies for the business development?
I think definitely every year comes like with new norms in relationships. For example, like for the past few years, we are more online. Now we started as well, going back and forth. Um, as well using ChatGPT. Like it's amazing. I even one of my friends told me she wrote her cover letter with that. So I'm like, really? They can do that? In even one night, I was staying with some of my friends that they are all in technology, and we were discussing about this, how developed it is, and they were like, you know what? Let's even ask if they can give us advice on how to break up with a person and the type of messages. And indeed, I was surprised the type of messages that it created. It was like, wow, really, it's unbelievable. I cannot believe that this thing is on the market. So definitely, it would be much more easier in terms of communicating or writing emails, messages towards customers, because English is not my first language, and it will take me a, quite enough time to build in, like you said, a newsletter or a
Right.
direct message to a customer to see if everything is correctly written and stuff. So I think definitely you can take advantage of these technologies, but at the end of the day, it's proposing the value instead of direct selling and building that human relationship with a customer that will help you. So I think AI and all the other tools, video, CRMs, are extremely useful. They can give you a hand, but they will not do the job for you. At the end of the day, I feel the relationship building is the most important, and these are additional value to it.
Right. And when a person joins any company as a business development manager or whatever is the position in business development domain, they have they ask certain questions. What are the common questions that HR and interviewing persons ask when a person is joining as in business development domain? And what would you give some tips to the new people who would like to join any industry as a business development manager?
In my case, I'm looking back. I don't think I was ever, because when I joined Cisco, I joined on a different position than business development, and then it lead on to it. So I was not interviewed.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say if they are interviewed and let's say they don't have experience, they can capitalize and discuss in details about experiences, real life experience, and demonstrating how good they are in building relationship, interacting with people, how good communicators they are, how they have a strategy in building planning. I think this is something that even as a person that will ask you from the HR department why you would be good for it if you don't have experience, you can think before the interviews a certain occurrences happening in your life where you showed that you have this, and if they're not, nothing is coming to you, maybe you can ask people around you. Because for example, in my, I have a mentor, and we usually do this exercise once per year where I ask people that I have worked with, previous managers, friends from childhood, friends from now, on different occurrences in my life that they were impressed by my skills. Because everyone is mostly aware of what they are not good at
Mm-hmm.
and what they need to improve, but it's good to see the perspective of others. What are you good at? Because sometimes you just take it for granted. So that's why I would say, if someone prepares for an interview and they don't have any experience in business development, and you feel, okay, I don't know how I'll present myself, just take a couple of points or ask your friends, ask your family, when exactly they were impressed by you dealing in a specific situation and how you solved it, how you made the plan on something. So once you get that, you just embellish the story and you can present it properly to a recruiter. So I would say definitely sales skills, the willingness to learn and develop, not having ego, that's a big one, which most of the people are struggling with, and taking things personally and not being reactive to situations. And like I said, actively listening and not trying to sell directly to a customer before you don't understand, and just keep on asking questions. Because at the end of the day, even if it's a recruiter or a client, if they see how well you communicate and how well you engage, they will give you a chance. Like for me, I never came with a tech experience. I never thought I would reach here. And it's just my communication skills and building a relationship with the person that interviewed me, with the recruitment agency, with people that interviewed me in Cisco, that they willingly gave me a chance to enter the company. It wasn't that my experience, I was coming with a background and I just fall into it.
Right. All right. So, last question, Alexandra. Am I audible?
Yes, 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 you are.
Okay. Your video is little bit, I mean, paused. So I would little
Really?
bit wait. Just yeah. I
First?
think. Yes. Now it's okay.
Okay.
Okay. So last question, Alexandra.
Absolutely.
What general advice you would like to give to the new entrepreneurs, to the new startup founders, to the new people who recently entered into the business development or any industry? Any general advice on business, on relationship, on life, anything? You are inspiration.
Um, Thank you for that. I would say definitely one of the most important things is to keep on upgrading their skills, because technology is emerging and is ever changing. So at least I'm not saying for you to get a course and I don't know, complete Python, let's say, and not use it, but research and see what is it about and have at least a basic knowledge, because you never know when you can apply that. So I would say always upgrade your skills. Um, Always put yourself in uncomfortable situations and try something new, because this is where you definitely find yourself and you find your strength. And if you have certain maybe fears in applying for a job or an interview, a front facing interview, you would remind yourself that you succeeded through ABC, and that will give you a boost of confidence in moving forward. as well as I would say this is for life. If it's not coming for you, then it was not meant for you. You don't need to knock at that door. That always proved to me right. Like, even I have a friend that applied 13 times to become a cabin crew, and 13 times the universe, God showed her that it was not for her, but she kept on insisting. So I would say when something is not falling into place, maybe it's not meant for you. So, like, for example, you don't get a job. Maybe something better is coming for you that you don't even have a chance. So don't dwell on it. Don't get depressed. Opportunities are out there, especially in this age. So just continue upgrading yourself and trust yourself that you'd be able to succeed in no matter what situation. And just be kind and actively listening to the person.
Right. So amazing, Alexandra. Trust me, the talk with you was really, really knowledgeable and insightful. And I'm pretty sure that the audience will uh, enjoy this whole talk and they will learn a lot out of all this conversation that we had. Once again, thank you so much for joining, and hope in the future we would have more talks like this.
Absolutely.
And really, really, it was really amazing talking to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I truly hope that through my experience, you can at least get one thing that you can apply. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop me a message and I will engage with them.
Thank you, Alexandra.